2, 3.
Like Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit, so I don't even bother. Gucci,
Hi
Gucci,
everyone,
Louis, Louis,
welcome
Fendi,
to
Fendi, Prada.
podcast
Them basic bitches
Pandawa.
Gucci, Gucci, Louis, Louis, Fendi, Fendi, Prada. Them basic bitches wear that shit.
Today we're gonna have a lot of discussion, but the theme today is regarding planning learning instruction by using where to. By from our mentor teacher search information with me Yeni Sulistiawati
And me, Endah Eka Handayani. And me, Rasinia Kisiwardani.
And me, Rika Rismayanti.
and of course me Chalsa Herika Putri. Well, we are gonna kick off the first question. What is your learning objective? Does it match the needs of students? What is the evidence? And show the evidence with criteria according to indicator of learning outcomes. Okay, regarding to the learning objective itself, it was used as a reference source for the interview session that was titled a notice, caution, and warning, with the element achievement for the listening and speaking. In its indicator, there are several competencies that students must achieve, including identifying, determining, arranging, and presenting. In its development, the teacher considered the initial cognitive aspect possessed by the students and to help support the students' skill in understanding the material as well as skills in listening and speaking. Therefore, the learning objective itself was developed by designing the assessment as evidence of assessment in the form of composing dialogue that states prohibition commonly encountered by students in the school environment. Thus, the application of learning to the form of assessment is truly adjusted to the context of students' daily life. Regarding to the aspect that are included as criteria for understanding the taken of the teacher, they include aspect of understanding the material by giving homework to be done individually. Yeah, so how to make learning fun? Students want to actively participate in class following the lesson, remain enthusiastic when learning when the situation is difficult, such as difficult in material or last lesson hours maybe, and not afraid to ask questions. Yes, in classroom learning practice, at the beginning of the lesson, the teacher provides a stimulating question to focus student attention on the material to be learned that day. Some of example of prompts given to the student like, have you ever gone to the public places or mall? Have you ever seen a notice around the place? What signs or symbols that do you usually find? Instead of asking for the definition or the concept itself, the teacher just directly asks for the whole question that is mentioning to the concept real life. So, a student will proactively answer the question given by the teacher through the discovery learning approach. In addition, the teacher also provides interactive games that related to the material being studied during the learning activities to avoid students getting bored or sleepy while learning, presenting the material with visually appealing media, and grouping students in small groups based on their interests to do the task of composing simple dialogues related to the material of warning or prohibition itself. So, what obstacles are often encountered when trying to create an active class? Yes, of course, some obstacles that can be encountered during the learning process, such as students being confused in determining the topic of the dialogue. Usually, this is experienced by students with high comprehension abilities, where they want a dialogue with a complex conversation content to look better. However, this is tried by the teacher by continuously providing scaffolding to each group based on their respective needs so that the problems of each group can be overcome well.
Interesting. Now I want to listen your opinion, Rika. What activities can make them show their best abilities, including assignments, homework, or fun things outside the classroom can be practiced maybe to understand more the material?
Alright, so here's the deal. Before kick off the lesson, the teacher usually run a quick diagnostic test. Why? To get a sense of where the students are at what they know, what they need, and how they learn best. This happens a day before the English class, just to make sure everything's prepared and ready to go. And here the interesting part. Learning styles, they are not fixed. They can totally shift depending on the situation, and the teachers also keeps an eye on what sparks the students' interest. Now, based on the test result, the teachers design activities that really match the students' needs. And the cool things, the lessons are always interactive and connected to the students' everyday life. This keeps the vibe lively, the students engaged, and the learning super relatable. Take this example. When they're learning about prohibitions or suggestions, the teachers start by asking, "Hey, what sign do you usually notice at the mall?" Then they go on a mini tour around the schools to spot any prohibitions or suggestions in real life. Students jot down what they find. It's simple but effective. Fast forward to the assessment, students are asked to create a dialogue based on what they observe and then they act it out. That twice, they can set the dialogue to match their interests and understanding. It's fun, personalized, and most importantly, helps them really get the material. Cool, right?
I got your point. So, how do you get students to reflect back on the material they have learned and make their work better from suggestions and learning from experience?
Alright, let me break it down for you. During group assignment, the teacher does not just sit back and watch. No, they are active involved, doing what's called ongoing assessment. This means they are checking in on each group's progress while also providing scaffolding, guidance and support to help each group perform better. Now, when it's time for presentations, the audience or the other students get involved too. They're not just passive listeners. They give a peer assessment rubric to evaluate their friends. So they are learning how to give constructive feedback while being part of the process. Pretty cool, right? And then, after each group finished their presentations, the teacher stepped in with some positive feedback. What went well, what did not, and then points out areas that could use a bit of improvement, like pronunciations, how they express themselves, or anything else that stood out. And here's the beauty of it. This feedback does not just help the presenting group. It's like a double win because the other groups also get to learn from it and apply it to their presentation later on. It's all about growing together and leveling up as a team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, how about you, Chelsea? How to let students assess themselves, make plans for the future, know what to improve, and keep the spirit of learning while looking at what they have learned?
Okay, here's how it goes. As the lesson wraps up, the teacher takes a moment to do a quick check-in with the student. Just 1 minute, but it's super impactful. This is where the teacher asks questions like, what did you learn today? What challenges did you face with this material? Or do you still have any unanswered question about today's lesson?
I see.
It's simple, right? But here's the magic. The student response gives the teacher a snapshot of how well they are grasping the material. It's like a little progress report straight from the student themselves. And it doesn't stop there. The teacher uses this feedback as a reflection tool not just for the student learning, but for their own teaching. It helps them figure out what's working, what is not, and what they can tweak to make the next lesson even better. It's all about learning, growing, and improving together. Cool system, ah?
Yeah, I think that's great. So, how can you organize your students' learning to suit their different characteristics, such as their needs, learning styles, and interests, while still focusing on the goal?
Alright, let's talk about how teachers prep for a new lesson. Ideally, before diving into a new topic, there is always an initial mapping test, usually done a day before the class. This test is super important but because it helps teachers shape the lesson plan, everything from the learning objective, the activities, the method and approach to use, all the way to the kind of assessment that will be most effective.
So, how can you change the lesson plan if the situation change so that it's still fun and effective?
Sometimes unexpected situations pop up. When that happens, the teacher needs a solid backup plan to make sure the learning process still runs smoothly. Here's a real-life example from SMPN 22 Bandar Lampung. The teacher had planned a text-based lesson that used the internet and a projector. Sounds great, right? But then, projector wasn't working. Instead of letting the plan fall apart, the teacher quickly switched gears and delivered the lesson manually. And even without the text, they made sure that the class stay interactive and the students stay engaged with the material.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chelsea. Now, last but not least, how about you, Resinia? Based on your experience, what is the best way to make students understand better? How do you keep them from having misconceptions and organize your learning to make it effective?
Well, according to the teachers, using a variety of techniques in learning activities that are tailored to the needs of each student is the best learning experience. In practice, teachers usually start the activity by provoking students with an interactive games or asking questions that directly go to the core of the material that will be conveyed instead of asking about definition or general theories in the material that will be taught. So, students will feel challenged to focus their minds in responding to the question given by the teacher as it explained in the H flow. Then, the teacher will also set up a group discussions based on the interest, learning styles, learning profiles of the students, according to the content of the material. As for example, in the notice, caution, and warning material, the teacher gives a trigger question as described in the H flow, and then to emphasize the understanding of the material, the student will be invited to walk around the school environment to find out as much information as possible and the examples of what are the notice, caution, and warning that often found in everyday life. And then the teacher also divides small groups based on their level of understanding from the initial diagnosis results to engage students in a group assignment project to create dialogue related to the material based on a selection of diverse topics according to the interest of each group. And as a result, the student will feel completely involved in the learning activity. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your nice opinion, Resinia. Well, guys, so it can be concluded when designing lesson plan, we have to be flexible and creative to keep the learning experience effective and fun, no matter what curveballs come your way. Well, that's all for us. Thank you for your nice attention and see you next occasion. See you.